What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another SGN video where it's all sim all the time. Today's video, we are bringing you the best franchise settings for Madden 26. Now, franchise settings are extremely important to making sure you have a good experience in your franchise in Madden in general. Now, these settings will go hand in hand with other things such as gameplay sliders and XP sliders and things of that nature to help you have the best experience possible. And EA does do a pretty good job of giving us tools that for the most part work, unlike some other franchise game or game modes out there. However, we do know there's a patch that is needed for some issues in franchise mode. Now, the good news is that if they do drop a patch that fixes any of the issues that we are aware of in franchise, it's not going to require any changes to the franchise settings. So there's no reason to hold off on providing you guys with this information. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive into the video, so don't go anywhere. The good stuff's coming next.
And Bonds hits one high. It's a dig! It is out of here! This is caught! Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Bryant for the win! Bang! Watch out! He's got getting away from the top speed! By Michael Short!
All right, guys, so before we dive into the settings, I just want to take a quick moment to say thank you for checking out this video. I really appreciate it. And if you happen to be new to my channel, if you could do me a solid, subscribe to the channel. That really means a lot to me. I am pushing towards 25,000 subs by the end of the year, and every new sub, of course, counts. And if you like anything that I have to say in this video and or use any of these settings whatsoever, if you could do me a favor and like the video as well as help YouTube push this video to more people who then in turn might subscribe to my channel and help me meet my goals. So that is my ask of you guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here. Let's go ahead and dive into the franchise settings. So like I mentioned ahead of time, leagues franchise settings are going to go hand in hand with your XP sliders and your gameplay sliders. It also is going to go hand in hand with your draft class strength if you do not use a custom draft class, which I honestly recommend not using, because custom draft classes do not utilize the strength. So you're limited or restricted to the talent distributed in those custom rosters, and you don't know if that's going to be a good distribution, a poor distribution. So it's better, in my opinion, to go with something you have some control over, which is just straight up draft classes from EA. That's just my opinion. Do with it what you want. Now, for your league settings here, skill level and all that stuff's going to be completely up to you. Now, where we want to be is you want to work with a quarter length that gets you realistic play call totals. Now, that's about 60 to 65 plays per team, so around 130 plays in the NFL is what we're going for. So I'm currently testing 12 and 20. That's what I was on last year. I've been also looking at 13 and 20. This is something that's really going to come down to you and your play style. If you eat up a lot of time pre-snap, you might need to put the clock up a little bit. If you snap the ball quicker, you might want to go lower. This is something you just need to monitor, but the goal should be to hit that play call total for realistic stats. Now, offensive play cool call down is very important as well as the limit, so you don't spam plays that are money plays or overpowered. It also is going to teach you and help you dive into your playbook a little bit better, despite coach suggestions not doing that for us. This is going to encourage you guys to find new plays in your playbook that you might not have called. Beneficial to not spam the same plays as well. Defensive play call cooldown. Now, previously I've been on 8 and play call limit at 4. I have realized the more I've played this game that they've done a better job with defensive playbooks, but no matter what, defensive playbooks just don't have the amount of plays as offense. And that's not a knock on either. It is what it is, right? And so I don't think that it's good to limit the amount of times we can call a cover 3, because there's only so many formations, so many sets if we want to run a cover 3. And I don't think we should be limited by how many times we're able to do that given particular circumstances. I do think having a cooldown between being able to call the dime cover 3 is fine, but if we need to be able to call that 4 or 5 times a game depending on the situation, I think that should be okay as long as we have that cooldown there. So I've switched this to off. home field advantage 100% off, guys, until they make it realistic, kind of like in college. I know people are arguing about college, it's all hand signals now and we shouldn't have the false starts, but the idea is in a good place, right? It's just crowd noise. EA has all this other arcadey stuff, which I think is cool for online and Ultimate Team, but they need to do it right for simulation mode, which is franchise mode, and make it a little bit more realistic. Honestly, it should just be straight up, you know, the home field advantages we know of, like cold teams have, you know, the specific advantages, which they have that in there, but they have all this other stuff on there that's just randomized before the game that makes no sense. So for now, we're going to have home field advantage turned off. Team settings, we're going to have everything on manual with the exception of scout college players on auto. Why? Because you're not scouting shit, you guys. What are you doing? You click in there and look at a report that was given to you by your scouts. You literally do not do anything other than set up your initial where you want your scouts to go, but you're better off just letting the computer decide that for you. Unfortunately, the state of scouting in Madden is we don't need to touch it until before the draft. Any information you are getting weeks 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, it's worthless. Just go look right before the draft. You'll have your full scouting reports. Everything that matters is then. Unfortunately, scouting is something you don't need to spend a lick of time on during the season. I really wish they bring it back and make it interactive like we have, you know, recruiting in college football or scouting in older Maddens. But until then, guys, just leave this on auto. It's literally you're wasting time going in there. Everything else, of course, is on manual. Auto progress players. Now, I talked about this in my other video, 5 ways to improve your franchise mode. I'm going to tell you guys, if you didn't see that one, why you need to have auto progress players on, in the alternative if you want to have this turned off. First reason why on. It's more of a sandbox experience, you guys. If you just have this on, players are going to just progress naturally, and you're not going to be kind of aware of it other than if you look at your roster and see, oh, so-and-so is up a little bit. This is how it's done in MLB The Show. This is how it's done in NBA 2K. This is how it used to be done in older Maddens before they went XP progression system. So the whole reason for it being on for auto is it's just more sandbox. You aren't going in and saying, I have this player, I'm specifically going to make him more of a power back. I'm specifically going to make him more of an elusive back or a receiving back, right? You're not going to have that control over how that player is getting better. The game is going to naturally progress that player, how the game deems that that player and that archetype should progress, which I think is more realistic. Now, I know a lot of you guys aren't going to like that. You're going to be like, well, I have a quarterback and I need him to get better at this. I need him to get better at throwing on the run. I need him to do X, Y, Z. Okay, I understand. So if that's how you want to do it, fine. Turn this off and follow what I've done the last couple years, which is you only progress your players 3 times a year. One is after the preseason, because that makes sense, right? You go through training camp, everyone's been playing, practicing, whatever. Naturally, players progress during the preseason. It makes sense. So you progress everybody all at once after the preseason. Second is going to be halfway through the season, which is after week 9, right? 18 weeks in the season. Week 9 is halfway point. Do it after halfway point. That makes perfect sense to upgrade everyone on your team. And then again, the other time would be at the end of the season before you go into the off season, would be when you upgrade your players again to just take those 9 games in preseason, and that's when you upgrade. So those are your 2 options for progressing players. It does not make sense if you're trying to be a simulation player to upgrade players every single week. Players have good games and they have bad games, and they shouldn't just automatically go up from a good game. It should be a cumulative process. So that's why I recommend both of those options. Ability weekly, week wrap, we don't need that. I mean, if you want this on, you can. I just think it's just something you don't really need to pay attention to. Tutorial pop-ups off as well. Trade deadline, of course, is on. Trade type, of course, enable all. Trade difficulty, hard. Last year I had it on very hard. I actually tested this. I think EA, they didn't announce it, but I think something happened. They tuned it a little bit, and it looks to be a lot better. I went and compared some trade values at the different settings for particular players and, viewed what was being offered. I also scaled, other players to trade for, even lower rated players like Trevor Lawrence is a 75 overall on a massive contract. Jaguars wouldn't give him up. There was nothing. Even Bryce Young, you know, younger guy, third-year guy, not rated very high. Panthers wouldn't give him up. So even on hard, I think it is really good. I actually liked when trades were being suggested. The draft pick compensation is what I was kind of looking at. When you go harder, they will basically just offer you 5th and 6th and 7th rounders, and then when you go a little bit down, you'll get more of those 3rd and 4th rounders, which makes more sense depending on for the particular players that I was testing. That made more sense. That's why we're on hard. Free agent motivation impact, we were on high last year, high again. It needs to be more impactful than normal, but it doesn't need to be the whole reason a player does or does not sign with you, but it definitely needs to be felt more than on the base setting. Practice squad stealing, of course, we're going to go on. Relocation, this is user preference. If you go, everyone, don't be shocked if randomly you just see a random team down in Mexico City with completely different uniforms. If that's something you're okay with, put it on everyone. If it's something you're not okay with, put it on users only. That's really up to you. Wear and tear, of course, is on, because if we turn it off, progressive fatigue gets turned on, and we know progressive fatigue is an absolute disaster. So yeah, wear and tear is on. Of course, we're going to have those all turned on as well. Prospect storylines on as well. Draft. Here we go. Turn it on. We can do full presentation there. Now, free agency. We're lowering the amount that the user can negotiate with on stage 1 and stage 2 to make sure that the user isn't overpowered and having an advantage over the CPU with the normal 5 and 10 that it comes at default. So when you got to go 3 in your first stage and 5, you have to be more particular in who you target. You can't just throw money at a ton of guys and overwhelm the CPU. This is going to make you be more strategic and allow the CPU to be competitive and maybe steal some people that you wanted, or you aren't able to offer everyone you want and then they're gone because CPU took them. So definitely important to make sure that you aren't just dominating free agency. Of course, day 3 at that point, we can go unlimited. Coach firing, this is again user preference. Now, me personally, when I start a franchise, that's the team I want to run. I want to spend however many years I get through, it's that team, building that team. I don't want to go anywhere else. Some folks are okay with starting off with a team. If they don't perform, they are going to get fired and they have to look for another job. This one's up to you. I personally don't want that for me, so I'm going to be on CPU only. Career clock, of course, is on. Breakout scenarios, off. I talked about this in my 5 ways to improve franchise mode. I'll reiterate it here for you guys right now. Breakout scenarios off because it distracts you from playing the game realistically. You are going to be focusing and forcing that scenario to try to be met. So I gave the example of I had a breakout scenario pop up for a running back, and the 3 options to get a dev upgrade for him was 175 rushing and receiving yards combined, 150 rushing yards, or 125 rushing yards with a touchdown. And I make the point that means if I chose the 175 rushing and receiving yards, I could run and receive for 150 yards combined with 4 touchdowns and fail my goal. 150 rushing yards, I could run for 100. I could run for 130 and catch for another 100 and have 230 all-purpose yards, throw a TD or 2 in there and fail my goal. The 125 and 1 touchdown, I could run for 200 yards. But if I don't score a touchdown, I fail my goal. So there's holes in the breakout scenarios, and it also dictates how we play the game. We try to force that scenario to be met instead of just playing the game to try to win. And I did get confirmation from a dev that even if you have breakout scenarios turned off, your players will still get dev upgrades based on performance. So you don't have to worry about missing out on one of your players having a dev upgrade. This will still occur. You're just not going to have that little scenario pop up. Development trait regression is very important for your franchise mode. Now, this is what I'm utilizing for my XP. Now, because XP isn't really part of the video, I'm not going to talk about it. So if you want to use my XP setup, there's a video on that. Utilize that if you want to, but I'm not going to spend time talking about that on this video because it's not really part of the franchise setup, although it is an important part. Superstar ability is off, man. Until they get rid of the absolutes where you're getting perfect pass accuracy here, perfect pass accuracy there, can't fumble, can't be intercepted, bazooka where you can suddenly throw the ball 15 yards further on the field. Until they get rid of that in our franchise mode, you have to have superstar abilities off, you guys. I'm sorry. I thought this was the year that they were going to give us the ability similar to college football where it's just percentage boosts, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40%. But no, they went still full on guaranteed absolutes, unfortunately, despite what they said to us in the blog. So for now, another year of superstar abilities turned off. Sucks we can't use them. Minimum roster size. This is new for me this year. We're going to have it up at 52. Now, 53 is the max you can go. We're going to go 52. I'd done like 48 before, but we're going to go 52 to make sure, you think about it, if it was at 48 before, that's 4, and we're at 52 now, it's 4 players. We have 32 teams. That's 120 plus players, right? 132 players, if my math is right, that are going to be signed that aren't sitting in free agency pool. One of the things I kind of noticed is that when it was down at 48 and teams only had to keep 48 is that they would. And then you'd have a stronger free agent pool that there probably should be, right? So if we go to 52 and make teams carry more players, less talent's going to be available in the free agency pool, which makes more sense. We really shouldn't have a bunch of 80 overalls chilling in free agency, not because they shouldn't be signed, because the team was just like, we've met our 48, we don't need to. And they could have always went over, but the CPU teams didn't really go over. They were being cap conscious. So 52 just to ensure we get some more players signed. Unlimited there. Player overall cover restrictions, I'm at 85 for this, just to make sure that if you have a player you want to move, you know, that's a high rated player, you need to trade them. If you're trying to cut for cap purposes, 85 overall plus, you should be able to trade that player anyway, so go that route. Off-season player cut limit, of course, is unlimited, and fill roster off. We want to do that ourselves. And that's the franchise sliders, you guys. Now, one thing I will touch on, and I talked about this in my gameplay sliders, but I know that not everyone who is watching this video is going to use my gameplay sliders, is until they fix the trait issue, I highly recommend you go in and add traits to edge rushers for your team and the team you're playing, and just to make sure that those edge rushers actually have traits. And I would check all the high rated positions, you know, and make sure some running backs that are pretty high rated don't have traits, or they only have one. Same with wide receivers, that they should definitely have some traits. So double check every single week before the team that you play that you have a trait or two on some of these top rated players. Last thing, best franchise setting. Again, I talked about this in the 5 ways to improve your franchise mode, is be offline, you guys. Be offline so you can take control of another team for the CPU, which will allow you to set their formation subs, set their depth chart, and change their scheme and playbook based on necessity due to that team's makeup changing, from players, quarterbacks moving, whatever, or that coach is no longer with that team and they are now with another team where that scheme playbook doesn't make sense. The game doesn't actually change. It'll always stay that playbook and that scheme with that coach regardless of personnel. So we just got to go ahead and help the CPU out on that. And what's cool is we can do that when we're in an offline franchise, take control of the coach, go into the team, make the changes, retire, everything sticks. With that being said, guys, that is the video. I hope you guys appreciate this. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Otherwise, stay tuned to the next one, y'all. Peace.